Just make me look
I'll
pretty.
put it on your beard. You put this in a pocket.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Todd Frazier, and I'll be running for the Placentia-Yorba Linda School Board Area 4, as was mentioned. I've got 3 kids in the district. I'm a local business owner. I'm a CPA, and I also have a media company. So all of the stuff that's happening in this world, I am paying a lot of attention to it, and it is insane, as all of us sitting here know. The thing that that kind of triggered me to get involved is we've got a daughter that's playing basketball at Esperanza. And with all the COVID CIF restrictions that happened with masking, we actually had to stand up and decide, are you going to do the things they're asking you to do, or are you going to make a stand on what we believe in and say, I'm going to wait until I'm allowed to play the way I want to play? And she did. So she sat out 14 games this last season, and as soon as all the restrictions were lifted, she was back in and she was running and rocking and rolling. And I really looked at that and I said, if my daughter's going to stand up and she's going to look to make a difference, I got to follow suit. So really, I mean, I guess I'm here because of that. And then all the things that are going on outside of our control, really, as parents. It's just, your eyes get opened as you start to look and you start to dig. Things start to pop their heads up, like CRT and all the things happening inside of classrooms and the teachers union. I mean, we could probably do a whole thing about teachers unions in general and how they're manipulating teachers and they're manipulating students. There's a lot of evil happening around us that I think we need to put a stop to. And so I'm excited to do that. I've done a lot of talking with people and attending board meetings and just being involved in the process and hearing your story, Dr. Bean, is just so inspirational. I think it's time for people like us to step up and take control of our communities and really be advocates for our students, advocates for the teachers that are being manipulated. I think there's a lot of glossing over. There's a lot of really good teachers that unfortunately are being handcuffed by administrators, by teachers unions that do have a different ideology that they want to impart on our students. And again, it's that the Animal Farm concept of if you take the children, you can rule the kingdom, right? So that's where we really want to make a stop to. So and I just echo everything Rich said. Can I do that? Can I just say ditto? What he said? Yeah, same thing. No, we've had a lot of really good conversations. I think it's neat to have someone like Leandra kind of bringing us all together and being a part of this movement. I think that's happening right now. It's neat to see that our community is stepping up and supporting each other in what really we need to do this for our kids. So, does anybody have any questions? Yes, Mr. Falco.
How is it you think your business that you have will benefit the school board and the parents and the community?
Great point. So as a CPA, I have a license to do taxes and accounting services in the state of California. It's funny you bring up the math being racist. I saw an article about that in 2017. I thought, that's really weird. I was a math ed major in college. I have actually a teaching credential in the state of Missouri where I went to college, and then I became a CPA. So I know a lot about numbers. And I heard them saying math is racist, and that's really strange. And I started reading the article and trying to understand what they're doing. And I thought to myself, if I prepared a tax return based on what was equity math, the government would be really upset. But I would do really well as far as tax refunds go. So my clients would love it. So I guess maybe we should go that way, but that's not reality, right? That's different. Yeah. And I think that's another thing you bring up. That's a good point, is consistency. If you take one thing and you apply it to everything, if it doesn't fit all the categories, then there's something wrong with where you started. And there's such a problem with consistency, like just the issues that we have politically, just bringing politics into the classroom. And the sexuality thing is it's gotten to the point where we're not even talking about academics, because it's like it's taking a back seat to all this ideological stuff, and it's not helping our kids. It's not helping our kids. So I think by being a professional and being in something where I see numbers and I see financial statements and I create financial statements and I do accounting, when they were doing all the ESSER fund reports with the spreadsheets and things, I'm sitting there looking around the room and I'm watching the board members. No offense to any of the board members, but there were things that I was like, we should ask questions about. A lot of these numbers and these lines that don't seem to make sense, because there's a breakout in between those. That this is a summary spreadsheet. I make these. I know how it works. So I think that's going to be with an attorney and a CPA, right? An ex-police officer, right? We got a firefighter. I mean, really? That's pretty great. Yes.
I have a really good question. So you have a daughter in sports.
Yes.
I have a daughter in sports.
Yes.
What do you think about males competing with our daughters?
I think it's a
sports.
yes.
Are you able to do something on the board?
What was
Yep.
the?
So the question is male athletes in female sports. Chris has a daughter in sports. I've got a daughter. I'm about to have another daughter in sports and a son in sports. And you've got a son in sports as well.
Right.
There is a biological difference between male and female. And when you put them in sports, that's not how it works. A male competing in female sports is irrational, it's illogical, and realistically, it's unfair. So we need to keep sports biological as they should be, and they always have been. And if there's anything that comes up, that comes down through CIF or anything else in that nature, we're going to do our darndest to fight against that thing, because that is
Locker room stuff.
not needed.
Bathrooms.
Locker room stuff, bathrooms, we've experienced that on the Esperanza campus.
Right.
Of boys in the girls' locker room and boys in the girls' bathroom, and not following the way that the rule is set up.
As a school board member, you can say, we could take a
Yeah,
vote.
and we have to enforce that stuff. That's the thing that we really have to enforce the things that we're saying we want to stop, and that starts at the top, and it starts with us. So absolutely. Anybody else? All right. Thank you so much for coming. Carson, you have anything to say?
Because I don't understand all the spreadsheets and stuff, but I feel like there's a lot of growth in our district, and I can't wait for someone to come in and figure it out.
Yep.
And clean it all up.
Absolutely. Well, there was just one second, Judy. So there was one item on a board agenda, I think 2 meetings ago, where they were they were teaching kids to play. And I found that number and I was like, it was like $20,000 or something like that. 12,000. Well, it might as well have been 20,000. It was 12, but it was like, what are we spending money on? That makes no sense. So we have to look at those things critically and say, does this really actually help the students? Does it help the teachers? Is it a waste of money? And I think there's a lot of that we're going to have to pay really close attention to. Judy, yes.
Well, I wanted you to share that story, so I was going to tell
Oh, okay, good.
That's great.
Good, yes.
Don't the school boards have to submit to a public audit?
Yes, there is a public audit that's required, yes.
Okay.
But the problem is, when they presented the audit at this 3 meetings ago, so I was there and I listened to them talk, and I'm hearing the phraseology, and they put the report out, and it's a detailed report, and I'm reading it, I know what they're talking about. Nobody knows what they're talking about. The words and the phraseology that they use, it's like, it might as well have been in Greek or in racist math. That might as well have been. And that's the part where if you just give enough information, people are like, oh, sure, it's fine. Well, we got to look at that. We can't just let it go anymore. Anybody else? Yes.
I was a teacher in Placentia.
Oh, yes.
Placentia Renewable Energy. And when I first started teaching, I had to buy my construction paper, I had to buy my pencils, I had to buy my paper, and then we had a superintendent that had a limousine that you take. No, this is a story. I mean, and I thought, this is what my teaching experience is going to be like. Are you going to start getting more money into the actual classroom where it belongs instead of all the hierarchy?
Yes, absolutely. And also, just to add on to that, you only get a $250 deduction max as a teacher on your tax return. So that's not enough for the money that teachers spend in their classrooms. So we need to police that kind of stuff, and that's what the board's there for. So that's very much going to be a part of just the reckless spending and the things where we need to prioritize and really focus on students and true teacher support, not fluffy teacher support, true teacher support. So yeah, I'm very much an advocate for that. Not for limousines, unless we're in with Dr. Bean and we're riding into the school, you never know. Just for the school board. Uber. Anybody else? Who else is freezing? All right. Thank you so much for coming, everybody.